see. Hmm.
You're on mute, Jason.
Doesn't look like he's muted.
Okay,
Now we can hear you.
I think I'm back. Thanks so
Nice.
much. Yeah, so I'm really excited to share with you guys. I've heard of the group before. This is my first time joining. I've been in consulting, primarily in the enterprise space, for over 25 years. Actually, I had the pleasure of working with somebody on the call here who was a mentor of mine, so I'm so glad you joined. Yeah, so I've worked in the content management space and the knowledge management space for enterprises for about 25 years. And during that time, seen a lot of challenges with the way they manage content, the way they manage knowledge. And more recently, of course, with generative AI, it's become just so much more important for businesses of all sizes to really kind of own their truth. And so that's what I'm going to talk a lot about today is truth curation for trusted AI. Whether you're a small business or an enterprise, it's becoming more and more important, of course, to make sure the information that's out there about your business, both internal to your business for your employees and whatnot, but also external for your customers, to make sure it's factually truth and that it's represents your business as best it can, especially with Google and Gemini. Everybody's gone out and Googled recently and see the AI summaries at the top. Those are all fed by your content, right? So really owning that and making sure it's true and correct is going to help make your represent your businesses a lot better. So I'll jump in. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about truth curation. It really is a reflection of your business. So the problem, and this is at the enterprise level here, but a recent MIT study showed that 95% of Gen AI, generative AI, pilots fail to generate any business value. And that's pretty astounding given the billions of dollars that businesses are investing in this. For only 5% of them to actually generate some value back, that's very poor ROI. Primarily, they found systems don't retain feedback and they don't adapt to context. What that means from a knowledge management perspective and a content management perspective is it's really bringing to light a lot of the issues that have been out there and plagued businesses for a really long time. Updating content, making sure it's current, making sure it's relevant. It's no longer just a findability issue, like where'd that document go? Gen AI finds it all, right? Whether it's valid or not, whether it's valuable or not. It finds it and it's surfacing that. And that's the primary reason why these businesses are failing to get value. People don't trust it. Another survey of data analysts showed that 81% say their companies still have significant data quality issues with AI projects. They're pulling from these systems that were sort of haphazardly and poorly curated over the years, each of which were intended to be sort of a single source of truth, right? That's been a buzzword out in the industry for a long time. The holy grail is to have a single system that has all the correct information that employees need and that customers can benefit from. But it's really with generative AI surfacing that problem, and that's the problem that we focus on. So the impact, untrusted outputs, AI hallucinations, we don't have it on here, but it just generally culminates in just poor adoption by employees. A lot of employees are being told, use AI to be more efficient. There's a lot of companies like Walmart that have mandated the use of AI for their employees. A lot of other companies are really just trying to be AI first, but the problem again keeps coming up, and they're not really able to receive that return on investment. But just it amplifies a lot of the confusion that's sort of already been there, right? Like looking for documents, finding one, wondering if you can trust it. There's multiple versions of the truth out there. So there really was no single source of truth. So as I mentioned up front, I mean, AI is really speaking with our voice, and our voice is our content, right? Whether it's our website, blog posts, social media posts, it all represents our businesses, and it just mirrors that content, not the truth, right? So it can very, as you've all seen, can very confidently just repeat information that may not be entirely accurate. It may be outdated. It may just lack context, right? Just one example, a recent client that I worked with was a fairly large financial institution. They were ready to deploy their AI bot out on their website for their customers. The day before, I'm in there speaking to a group of about 50 of them. I said, well, let's just pull it up. Let's just talk to it. First question I asked was, who's the CEO? And it gave the name of the CEO from 15 years before. And they said, wait, that's not right. Well, somewhere in their content that they had out there, it had the CEO's name, but it didn't have the context of the end date, right? From, 1995 to 2015, right? That's all AI needs, just that minor thing. That's all the context it needs to really be able to discern, oh, that person's no longer the president. The next question I asked was, what's their email address? And that popped up and said, I think we're going to have to you know, spend a little more time testing this before we roll it out. So, as business owners, curating our truth, I believe, is really a new objective of ours. We're all knowledge workers here. We're technical communicators. We create content, and when we do, of course, that's being leveraged by the AI. So, curating that truth has become more and more important. As you've seen, a lot of outputs from AI because they're so well formed, they sound very convincing, right? So it's becoming more and more difficult to distinguish between just something that's well written and factually incorrect and something that is actually factually correct. So there's a lot that we need to do to just ensure that we're not, it may be more of a trust but verify type approach. We need to maintain our skepticism. And I think as humans, we tend to sort of take the easy path a lot of times, maybe not proofreading something, saying, oh, that sounds pretty good. I'll send that out, right? Whether it's an email or a document, we have to stay vigilant. So I'd say, with your content, whether you're managing documents on a Google Drive, maybe you've got dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of them out there. We need to encourage our teams and those who are working with them to actually delete things more boldly. I think there's been an assumption out there in the space, in the knowledge management space and document space for a long time, that is because somebody wrote it once and spent time doing it, it still has value. And that's not necessarily the case. So archive things very intentionally. It's really responsible, and it sort of takes out of the equation. It's just less that these AI systems have to wade through. To step back even at a higher level, right? So these generative AI systems are really just using statistics and algorithms, right? They're breaking words down and looking at the patterns. And when it generates an answer, it's just giving one word at a time and using logic and statistics, saying this word seems relevant, should follow this one, should follow this one, should follow this one. It's not thinking, right? And that's where we come in. You've probably heard human in the loop, right? We've got to be a part of that process of making sure the words that we're feeding this are not just sounding good, but actually factually correct. Another phenomenon, of course, that we're already starting to see is because these systems and because we are using and being encouraged to use AI systems to draft content, one piece of information taken out of context may be used again in another document, and then in another output, and then in an email, and it starts to take on a life of its own. So there's really a snowball effect that occurs. And ultimately, kind of look at it like eventually we're all going to be in a snowball fight. But the content that's being put on online as well is being used and pulled into our own. So really sleuthing, getting down to the source, and over time, it's going to become more and more important for us to distinguish between something that's been written by a human and been verified and have a source that's legitimate. It's going to become more and more important for us because so much of this is already being written by AI, and it's only going to become more and more. We're already in a situation, right, where It has become hard to distinguish, information from disinformation, right? And it's going to become harder and harder, unfortunately. So when we are writing content, and I speak a lot to content groups like documentation experts, tech docs people, marketing teams um, that write a lot of copy. I teach them and show them how to write for both humans and machines. I mentioned that context, right? Where it may not be entirely relevant to put a specific fact in there, given maybe a slide deck or a document. It may not be entirely relevant to put something in there for a human. And it's kind of weird to think of this in the terms of humans, but of course now we have to. Um, but also to understand how how these AI systems are going to leverage that. The good news is, I hope I don't sound like a doomsday sayer out here or anything like that, but it is now easier to actually generate content, which is the bright side, right? But it's also easier to actually sort of curate that truth using AI to help test itself, to help prove its sources, to help research sources. Those are things sort of at the meta level that you can start to implement now. When it generates something, say, where'd you get that? Are there other sources? Are there conflicting sources out there that maybe have a different standpoint or viewpoint? Use it to fact check itself, and then take its output, verify that, and capture that in your documentation or your knowledge system or even your generative AI system. So we can also audit things more quickly as well. So yeah, this human verification, this is truly a human in the loop, right? Verifying the content, it's our gold standard now. It's what we sell to enterprises and businesses, really showing them, the whole process and putting technology in place to make sure that they can tell the difference, between something that's AI generated and something that's not. So, this has always been a part of our role as knowledge workers, but it's become more and more important, if not imperative, for us to, just kind of recalibrate, the percentage of the time that we spend maybe drafting something. Well, it of course has decreased. It's just easier to draft something right now, where before it may have taken 90% of our time in generating any kind of content. Now it's taking five. That other 95% of our time and responsibility is to make sure it's correct. So that's the end of this presentation. I've got 4 minutes. I think I'd just like to show kind of AI in practice and how we do it at Xeon. Okay, so in consulting with a number of these companies, especially over the past 3 years, I started to notice a lot of gaps in opportunities that a lot of the products out there just could not address. So with that, built our own software platform on which it just makes it a lot easier to manage prompts in sort of a playbook setting, right? Each of these over here are prompts, and they should resonate, especially if you're small businesses or just starting out. Let me just log back in here. Of course, the nature of demos. Let's see. Hmm. Yeah, so we've built a full platform that helps companies manage sort of all of their AI assets. And in doing that, oh, don't look at my password. Here we go. No, I'm kidding. You can look at it. It's fine. So within that product, within the platform itself, you can manage multiple agents and assistants, as well as all of the prompts, and actually those truths, the knowledge itself. We call these playbooks. And within these playbooks, there are prompts that you can use and reuse within your teams or just for yourself over and over again. So if you think of a playbook as sort of a set um, uh, group of assets and actions for specific use cases, whether it's social media, drafting blog posts, marketing, and so on, this is the collection that your team can use. So I'm going to, so I actually created an assistant within here that I call Steve. It's modeled after Steve Jobs. It was my way of sort of trying to get advice and guidance from an AI assistant that could kind of take on that persona. It was a little creepy at first, to be honest, but I found it really, really handy. So I'll just show you here. So I've just dropped a prompt in with Steve, help me for my business. So this in the middle here doesn't look unlike many chatbots, right? Where it's different is we can pull in any number of different models. You can use your own API key for ChatGPT or Claude or otherwise. If you've got a business that's invested in AI, you can actually leverage that investment within this, right? So you can plug into your existing AI software. So each of these are prompts. And within our system, we've got over 1,200 prompts that are templates that are available today. But you can create your own really easily within here, and I'll show you how to do that. But the idea with AI is it generates a lot of content. And as it does, I wanted to make it really easy to capture it. This is that curation part that I talked about. So I could literally drag this output or even just part of it if I want to capture it and just remember it and pull it back in later. I don't know if you're like me, but early on I used to use a lot of Notepad, OneNote, and I just take a lot of things and put it in there that I wanted to remember, but I had a problem like recalling those. I was going back and forth and doing a lot of copy and pasting. So within this, made it really easy to just capture that information. And if it's something I want to share with the rest of my team, I can share it to the workspace. If it's something that I want to share with my AI system, so it can recall that, memorize it, and get smarter, I can allow AI to reference. And when I do that, you'll see this little brain icon here, and now it's become knowledge. So this was a snippet that was just, it's only available to me, nobody else on the team. I can reference that and pull it back into any discussion later. But this is really where you collect those things that are going to help you along this path. So in this playbook, this is very much something that I believe any business, startup, or even a more mature business that wants to go through and kind of validate their idea, their plan, look at their industry, their competitors, prioritize target markets. These are all prompts that I actually generated this morning for the presentation. So I'll just kind of quickly show you here. So I can just say create, and you can see some of the things it can do. Create a prompt, create an assistant, create knowledge. But I'll just say create a prompt that will help me locate my competitors within my market. So just something simple like that. So within it, it's got a prompt creation assistant. You've heard a lot probably about prompt engineering. We don't have to become expert prompt engineers when we can have AI use the best practices to write prompts for us. So we built this into the system itself. So this is using a framework. It actually selects, given the topic, the appropriate prompt engineering framework to apply here. So this is a full prompt. Example outputs, competitor insights, gives it instructions and so on. And then if I just say save it, because I might want to review it, revise it, that sort of thing. But when I save it, it's going to give me another one of these cards. The great part about this is now I've curated not just the truth and the knowledge, but I'm now curating the how to use AI for myself and for my team. If you've got other prompts that you use quite a bit, you can just say create a prompt and just paste it in, and it'll create a card for you in here. So here's that prompt that we just created. So I could be in any discussion, 6 months down the road, and come in here and just say, okay. So I could just go in here and just actually find prompts, assistants, playbooks, knowledge, anything that has to do with just sort of this keyword, and find these prompts that maybe my team members had made, I can also look out on the marketplace. This is that library of 1,200 prompts out here that can be used and reused. I can take this, drag it in, and it just makes a local copy for me, so that I can customize it and reuse it for my team. So this is that continuous optimization for a business on the how to use AI, what we want AI to do, so we can refine these prompts to get better and better outputs, but also the quick capture of information that can be used and reused as well. So they're really sort of this continuous optimization loops of how to use AI for a business and the information it needs to generate more trustworthy outputs. I'll just show one other quick thing, and this is something that we're going to be launching within the next few weeks. It's our Truth Curation engine. So with Truth Curation, what that really means is, I'll just do a little test. I can go in here and put in any number of URLs, documents, knowledge, connect to data sources like SharePoint, Salesforce, drop a lot of files in, and I'll just put an example in here. Xeon.com. So I can add as many as I like in there. And I can now select a knowledge validator. What this is a task force of AI agents that are going to look at all of that information across all of those silos and websites and compare it and find the conflicts, basically generating for you a full report of things that you can take action on. It's making it easy for the human to actually be in the loop. So I'll just start the process. And again, this is something we're going to launch in a couple of weeks, but the output are these human verified tasks. So this is an example of some of the findings, right? Where it says the existing value is 1.8, new value 2.4, annual recurring revenue, and it shows you the sources, whether these are websites or documents that actually contain that information. So as a business owner, you can go and verify and validate your information that's out there online, and actually see where the conflicts are, open those sites or submit to those website owners your new information to keep it current. I did this and I found that I had 4 addresses out there for my previous company, out there on the web. And that's one thing to do on the web search, but this takes it a step further and can look for not just like addresses, but are concepts, are certain things aligning or misaligning with your current products and services? Are things speaking in your voice, in your tone? Those sorts of things as well. So yeah, there's the front end that's a lot more sort of day-to-day use. And then there's that back end that can go and help you curate truth across a lot of different data silos. So this isn't something that replaces your existing systems or any of your existing systems within your company. It's something that sits in between, right? You may have all these other silos of information. This is a layer on top of that that helps you validate and verify that content before it goes out to the AI systems you may have already invested in. So
Jason,
that's
this is
truth
awesome.
curation.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of questions in the chat going through. Would love to have you address some of those questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, let's see, I'll scroll up to the top to see which ones came in first. Sean Murphy, you've put a few questions in there at the beginning. Do you want to come off mute and just provide some context and ask a question?
So it seems like the LLM structure would seem like you would need a taxonomy or a ontology driving this thing. Do you have other structures for organizing this than just the LLM prompt stack?
So behind the scenes, we've got vector databases and all of that all the content's being put into.
Yeah, vector database is LLM.
Right. Yeah, and it's being fed back in to the responses via RAG. but we can also do fine tuning on there
So
as
there's no
well.
taxonomy, there's no ontology, there's no way that a knowledgeable group in the company could define a structure that would guide the way the LLM is managing the data.
Yeah, we don't get a lot into like knowledge graphs, ontologies, and taxonomies.
Okay.
But what I can say is, tagging is one form of that, essentially meta tagging and whatnot.
So that's a
Um,
folksonomy, but then the next level up would be a real taxonomy, and the next level up would be a real
sure.
ontology, right?
Yeah, and what one of the things I've found is, I've gone to a lot of conferences and spoke to folks that, of course, are really big in that space. The knowledge graphs, data, making sure that the content that's being fed, the data that's being fed into these systems for training and fine tuning, I see that as sort of that's an opportunity for us to explore here. We're actually looking at partnering with a company that is in that space and potentially folding some of that in. But right now, yeah, it's we're giving AI um, factual information. We're focusing on the truth and not as much on the sort of ontology, the structure.
You keep using the word truth, and
Right.
I'm more comfortable when people say things like facts.
Sure.
So what's your definition of the truth?
When the facts align, that's really it.
So
When the facts
normally
all add up.
normally you'd have ground truth tied to an observer, a knowledgeable observer with field domain expertise.
Mhm.
What prevents some random person from injecting, quote, facts into this? How do you trace the contributions?
Yeah, so on the back end, you can see who, all of the metadata around who created it, when they created it, who updated it, and so on. You can see all of the versions going back as well. And then through permissions, at the user profile level, you can actually ensure that only specific individuals can update content. And you can put in a workflow for verification review process for content as well. Yeah, the same kind of controls that are in place today within companies, right? Anybody can put something on a SharePoint, right? But whether they should or shouldn't have, whether it was true and correct, I mean, that's still a business problem, right? Through
Jason,
governance and controls.
yeah, switching gears a bit, with your experience and time that you're spending in the AI space, what are some of the moats that you've identified that will stop larger companies or the AI model companies from competing directly with smaller new startups in the AI space?
Yeah, it's really interesting, yeah, because there are so many startups up there that are sort of wrappers, just AI wrappers, just leveraging large language models with very singular specific use cases. Um, they're really just prompts and assistants, that are there and being called sort of agents. Um, it's difficult, I think, for a small business to really build a lot of moats around that. I think the moat sort of becomes, you know, um, hitting it really fast, proving the demand, getting a lot of users, and ultimately likely having an exit strategy of becoming acquired. Because yeah, the larger players out there, can do a ton of things, and they will, and they're launching new things every single day. It does make it difficult, I think, for startups in the space to really predict, what's going to happen. But the one of the big differentiators is making it easier to use AI. I think that's something that the user interface, the experience, not just solving a really good and solid business problem, but just making it very intuitive and simple for people to do that. Those are good questions.
Um, yeah, it looks like there are some people throwing in the chat their LinkedIn. If you want to connect with anyone, please feel free to throw your LinkedIn in the chat. Um,
I'll put mine in there as well, of course.
yeah, is that the best way for people to connect with you and have a deeper discussion, Jason?
Yeah, I think it's probably the easiest. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it's definitely been a pleasure.
Yeah,
I
thank you
think
so
we've got,
much.
yeah, I
Really
appreciate
appreciate
talking to the
it.
group.
And yeah, please reach out to Jason if you've got additional questions. Um, let's see. And look forward to seeing everybody next week. Jason, thanks so much for sharing. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure. Yeah, I'll drop my link in here as well, real quick here.
Sounds good. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks for coming.